Oh gosh, look at the time. The old saying goes, time and tide wait for no man. Tonight, it is about time. Imagine, 1909, location, the railway station in Athlone. Just imagine the platform, awash with people, friends saying goodbye to cherished partners, whatever, as they board the train, its destination, Westport. On board the train, a young married couple, my grandparents. He had just been located to Westport. He was an employee of the Midland and Great Western Railway. Just imagine the steam train 527 with the fireman shoveling in the coal, keeping the furnace burning, getting up the heat of power. And just imagine the valves on the train releasing these massive clouds of white steam enveloping the people standing on the platform. Then just imagine the very, very sharp whistle of the train signalling it's time to start moving. And then, in your minds, just imagine the iron wheels and the long arm coming out, and the iron wheels skidding and making this terrible noise until they finally got a grip on the iron rails and slowly pull away out of the station. In the carriages them days, weren't like carriages today. Just imagine the people inside in their little cells, reaching out, pulling the leather thong which was hooked onto a little brass knob, releasing it so that the window fell down into a position inside in the door, and the people leaning out and waving farewell, throwing kisses and whatever to their friends and relatives as the train pulled further and further away from the station. And then moments later, watching as the station was subsumed into the landscape of County Westmeath. The trains didn't travel very fast in them days. So you can imagine, a couple of hours later, coming down Ardagammon, the steam train, the fireman, probably tired from shoveling in all the coal over the hours, resting on his shovel as the train reduced the speed and the train glided into Westport Station. My grandparents, along with other passengers, alighting onto the platform. Of course, for my grandparents, they had nobody here in Westport. No relations, good, bad, or indifferent. They knew nobody, other than that this was my grandfather's posting, his one and only posting. He died pretty young, but that's another day's work. Can you imagine them walking out the exit, the railway station, stepping onto Altamount Street? Dust rose, tar hadn't reached Westport at that stage. And just in your mind's eye, visualize the gentle breeze whipping up, the surface covering of dust, blowing it in the direction of my grandparents, as much as to say, welcome to Westport. Moving on a couple of years, my grandparents, now residing just below the Railway Tavern in their only home, which was once stores and had been converted by the Midland and Great Western Railway, lying awake in bed at night, their children in the bedrooms around, listening as the local IRA volunteers practice their shooting. And you can just hear the crack, crack, crack of the rifle shots as they practice their shooting in Marden's Wood, a beautiful wood that sweeps right down to the banks of the Mal River. Can you imagine then, decades later, young people like myself, playing games, tip, football, running, jumping in Clampett's Field? It's now a concrete jungle with Tesco and other stores and apartment buildings, playing games down there. And on warm, balmy days, sitting on the edge of the bank of the Mal River, near the viaduct with our feet in the gentle flowing, cool waters of the Carbeg River. Or can you just imagine us as children taking our chances on the little stones in the river, hopping from one to the other until we got into Marden's Wood, and there find ourselves lost in a veritable ocean of bluebells. And then making our way up into the deep innards of the wood, playing with the ash trees and the red deal trees, climbing up onto them onto the highest branches, and there, with our friends at the bottom shaking vigorously to try and knock us off the highest branch to see if we'd fall on the ground, all in good fun. And then later on making our way further out into the wood, which brought us down behind the Mal River again, located at the thread factory. And in the Mal River, at this particular point, there was a rock, and some of the braver members of our group would wade out to the rock, climb up onto it, and jump into the water, which was deeper on the opposite side. How do we know it was deeper? Because the big lily leaves grew there. I was never brave enough to do that. Then, can you imagine, years later, walking down Altamount Street, down the cobblestone fairgreen, picking our way through the cow paths on the street where the monthly fair was held, and watching all the hundreds of cattle from Toby's bar right over to the clock being exchanged, bought and sold by the cattle dealers, by the farmers, or indeed even to experience the sight of the cattle being driven up Altamount Street, where they would be brought up a ramp and loaded into the half wagons above at the railway station. But picture again another time coming down the Fairgreen, going to Mass on a Sunday morning. The same cobblestone Fairgreen. And just imagine the Sisters of Mercy bringing what seemed like scores of young ladies dressed in dark grey smocks. Orphans. We never knew anything about them. We never knew who they were, where they came from, where they were going to. We were young, we were innocent, but we know different now. And then imagine same young people going down the Fairgreen and going over to Tom Kerrigan, tailor, and to peer in his window and to see Tom sitting up with his legs crossed on the table and the glasses hanging literally on the tip of his nose as he put the pins into the fabric of the cloth that he was using to mark out and make into suits for his clients. And then later to go down the street over the bridge at Heenan's on the Mall, clamber over the low wall of the Mall, down into the Mal River itself, and there we would wade out into the centre of the river, knee-deep, with our jars, and harvest all afternoon sprats and tadpoles. They were great days of innocence, long gone. Gosh, look at the time. Mr. President. Thank you very much.